I don't know if I'm ready to record this. I just wrote the blasted thing. Oh well, I guess we're about to find out. Hey guys, Ali here. How are you doing? As seems to be the trend over the past year or so, I must once again start another video with an apology for my absence. I'm sorry about that. It was all in the name of finding and then working in a job that I've really come to enjoy. And so my focus has been on making sure that that is solidified and stable before I can then come back here and have some of the real fun. Now, the past year for me has been quite fruitful in this area of my social life. I've made some friends and they are nice people, but I do miss some of the random debate and conversations that we would have in the stream chat back in the day. Back in September of last year, I left a message in the Discord server basically letting you guys know that I had a couple of ideas rattling around my brain and that I would get back to you once I had pinned down some of the finer details. Well, for better or for worse, here I am. Very late as usual, and I have got some of those finer details successfully pinned. I'm going to be coming back to Twitch a few times a week and doing some live streams, as well as continuing on with YouTube with some more irregular releases. Some of them related to the live stream itself, and some of them a little bit different, something a little bit more creative. On the streaming side of things though, I'll be live on Twitch on the days and times that are on the screen just now. Wherever they are right now. Now, as was my intention when I started Layman's Insights, I believe that taking the time to explore and really seek out projects with intent, rather than being a kite flyer and just going in the direction that the Twitch ads blow. You can find a lot more fulfilling experiences if you just kind of be a little bit more conscientious in your video game search. I've always enjoyed finding little diamonds that I've dug out from the generally large pile of excrement that constitutes the majority of the gaming's typical top 20 these days. Now, I may sound like a bit of a boomer here, but I kind of miss the days where I could buy a game and kind of know two very important things. Assumption number one is that the game is complete and not arbitrarily chopped up to sell more to me later on because shareholders. And assumption number two is what I'm about to enjoy is a labour of love seen to completion by those with a real passion for making video games as an art form. When both of these assumptions are actually true, the outcomes don't tend to disappoint. And most of the companies succeeding here don't later go on to self-implode or pull the rug from under the feet of their player base, brazenly betraying them in the pursuit of ultimate market domination. They create within their means, both financially and physically. Actually understanding that having limits is okay. These pioneers in the video game space end up creating projects that tend to excel beyond the AAA behemoths of the time. Because they don't overextend themselves or attempt to create something that isn't realistically possible to realize at the time, they're not compelled to extract every cent possible with aggressive content segmentation because they don't need to cover arbitrarily inflated development cost oversights. Also, they create experiences that are exactly what we're looking for at exactly the right time, and that's like magic. I mean, that's a really weird thing. You think about the title, like the release timings of games like Bastion, or more recently like Hades, Dead Souls, all these like epic, they have huge followings. Stardew Valley, that's one guy, that's one guy. They don't even need to pump huge swaths of cash into a marketing team to recruit you into their cult. But you ask somebody about Stardew Valley, they'll go, oh yeah, that's an adorable little game. You get some farming in there, there's some RPG elements. Everybody knows what it is and what it does. Incredible. Don't you pretend you don't know what I'm talking about here. You know what I'm talking about here. You in the back, the defenders of studios that were once great but decided to kind of rest on their laurels and become money-leeching publishers. We've seen a fair few of our most beloved studios lose their way and stumble into the arena of mediocrity and stagnation to keep their company balance sheets nice and fat. Every time it happens, I become a little more sad to see this pastime that I have enjoyed for around 30 years now slowly and surely succumb more to the same predatory, self-destructive, and creatively castrating traps that almost all creative industries fall into. It just goes to show how shareholders and their ability to create shortcuts with their deep, saggy pockets dilute and hold back what is truly possible, taking away the magic that can only ever happen when you leave engineers and artists alone to play around and create what historically have gone on to become the biggest milestones of achievement within their respective era of video game history. Seriously, EA, Ubisoft, Activation? Oh yeah, that was the word. Activision Blizzard, CD Projekt Red, Rockstar Games, Take-Two Interactive, Koei, if that's how you say it, it's a weird one. There are so many that are, offenders here. Listen up. I can remember the day when you were truly innovators in this space. You remember too, right? Before you entered your current phase of believing that talent and IP can be bought, milked to exhaustion, and then just discarded. Before all this, those days were good days. All the way up through the 90s, into the mid or maybe even the late noughts when many of us were reaching our academic climaxes in our life. It was always exciting to see what the ever-improving tech would enable in terms of challenge, world building, and storytelling. But then, more competition in the video game world came about. The big dogs of our childhoods and teenage years were looking for more ways to maintain their market share, their dominance. It started with sequels getting less content, only for that content to be later sold in the first expansion. Then it was vanity items and fictional currencies. After that, pay to progress and loot boxes, and now NFTs and endless reboots and remasters. Where does it end? You would spend less money, less time, and break less creative souls if you listened to what the players actually want. Back in the day, when you used to do that, we had no problem handing over cash for the creations that you would actually, to some degree, enrich our life with. But back then, it was also more likely to be a complete experience, and rarely broken on release. Just stop informing your decisions off of a spreadsheet entitled Predatory and Unsustainable Cash Milking Escapades for those kids from the 80s and 90s that have money now. Don't get me wrong, there is a place for business thinking and making sure that your company persists. However, this is still, as I said earlier, a creative industry. It is not healthy for business and video games to dictate the terms and course of the creative process. It irrationally rationalizes unrealistic and punishing development timelines, making depression and burnout part of the job description. While the developers, who are overworked and relatively undercompensated, build the damn game, the PR team starts communicating overblown expectations to the horde of drones, drooling at their keyboards, anticipating the moment when they can finally click that pre-order button because, trailer look pretty. Speech is a powerful tool, especially when spoken from a perceived position of authority. It's how we exchange information, it's how we preserve knowledge and history over time. But it can be used negatively if in the hands of irresponsible, self-enriching, status-preserving corporate overlords, and let's not forget some public figures, by the way, where information quickly becomes shallow, superficial rhetoric. I guess what I'm just trying to say is don't believe everything you hear. I mean, I'm just trying to think of all the flops and disappointments and, you know, absolute dumpster fire releases that wouldn't have needed to come out as they did, or at all for that matter, if hype wasn't reflexively embraced just because somebody said something nice. For years now, some of the so-called best developers in this industry have overset expectations and underdelivered the reality. Yet, despite treating us like gullible, easily amused dopamine junkies with short attention spans, there are those who still trust these people at their word. We need to do better at acting upon this business-flavoured bull excrement and recognising it for what it is. Let the shouty players in the industry who build hype and marketing narrative instead of an actually finished product shout themselves hoarse. They'll fall silent eventually, all by themselves, and by the way, that's a very good thing. You need only think as far back as No Man's Sky to get my point here. When Sean Murray started shutting up about how mind-blowing his game will be all those years ago, he and his team actually managed to polish a turd and reveal a lovable gem of a title. When you screw up, you're supposed to acknowledge it, even if only to yourself, and make changes for a better outcome next time. It's obvious, right? But somehow, so rare in the video game industry. So, anyway, I kind of went on a bit there, sorry. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to play things that no one is really looking for at times where, you know, no one is really looking for them. And then just enjoy what treasures I find whilst engaging in my regular dose of escapism. If you are someone who is going to be tagging along, and I hope you do, that'd be nice, you'll see me relive some of the old and explore some of the new, play regularly, and try my best to speak fairly, but still from the heart, all while embracing the banter with your lovely self. So yeah, I'll be streaming from a Tuesday at 7 PM. I've actually forgotten what the date is. Give me a second. Calendar? Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah, there we go. Sweet. Not quite sure what I'm kicking off with, first of all, but I'm sure I will know by the time I'm streaming it. But for now though, I'm going to go away and finish some graphics for all of this madness, because I haven't finished them yet. Whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube, take care, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.